the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we have a very special guest from UNLV Economic Development, Bernhard. Bo, welcome.
Thanks for having me. This will be fun.
Yes, and you know, I always say you are interesting for many reasons, but again, I think it's less and less now, but you are one of those rare born and raised here in Las Vegas.
My parents went to Red Rock Elementary, fell in love there. My grandparents went to Vegas High. So yeah, we've been here a while. Seen a lot of change, obviously, a lot of evolution, but it's been fun to be a part of that evolution. Right now, you and I get to play a role in the positive change that we're both trying to affect with our organizations.
We do. I love your stories when we go to lunch about how you used to write on fields or dirt things that are now buildings and institutions.
Crazy. Yeah. I oversee this Harry Reid tech park where I'm pretty sure I used to chase lizards in that same desert like years and years ago. And it's crazy. Again, we just never imagined there would be such a huge population boom in my hometown here. Well,
let's get started there. The Harry Reid Park, the Blackfire Innovation Center. For anybody who's listening and hasn't been there, you got to go there. And if you can get Bernhard to give you a personal tour, is even better, right?
Please do.
I love that. Tell us about that building, because every time I go, you share with me some of the new things happening. UNLV, convenes multiple partners there, again, to drive, foster, and execute on technologies that are going to make the hospitality sector better. So tell us about what happens in that building.
So it's a really cool vision, and we owe a tremendous amount of gratitude to Senator Harry Reid, who set aside this land for the university many years ago. Our current president, Keith Whitfield, who you've also had, of course, on this podcast, used to work at a place called Research Triangle Park when he was a Duke University professor. That is a place that the three universities nearby, UNC, NC State, and Duke, have all worked together to really create kind of the Silicon Valley of the East Coast. And it's transformed what used to be a pretty one-dimensional kind of tobacco economy, right, into a very diversified and potent economy with all sorts of innovation hubs that rely on the university's labs and innovation to drive it. So that's the vision for us as well. Like a lot of things in Las Vegas, we're younger, we're newer, but we've hit the ground running. And whereas, at the tech park that Duke has, that I just mentioned, they have 300 companies. We just hit 100. We actually have 104 now. And that ranges from companies like Microsoft, whose market cap is at $2 trillion, to lots and lots and lots of single-person, two-person startups who are often UNLV students who have an idea, and the university is still there even after they graduate to support them in pursuing that idea and creating businesses.
I love walking with you because whether it's a robot that's following you around, whether it's the cool, screens that are 3D. The last time I went, again, it's always something new, but you showed me this room of the future with sheets.
Yeah.
That are very, very special. So I'll let you tell us a little bit about those sheets. And then also of all of this technology, after you tell us about the sheets, are we going to see some of this in hotels someday soon?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, for all of the fun robots we walk by and the 3D televisions and all these spectacular sites, maybe the most amazing technology in the whole place are the Purlin Bed Sheets. One of the principals is Eric Eisenberg. He's a member of the UNLV Alumni Board. He's UNLV through and through. And what they've invented is the world's first zero-water bed sheet. So instead of this going into a laundry machine that uses tens of thousands of gallons of water a day, when you're talking about 5,000 room hotels like the ones that you used to run and engineer, right? It goes into a Purlin machine, which instead of washing it with water, it melts it at really high temperatures into really small sort of spherical pellets. Those then get reconstituted in another part of the machine into a brand new bed sheet, zero water. Now, I don't know if you've noticed when you and I fly into town, but there's a big bathtub ring around our Lake Mead, right? Water kind of a problem here in the desert Southwest, but this is what you hope your universities do. This is why you hope to have great universities in your home communities, is to go after the really difficult problems with science, with technology, with research, with labs, with innovation that ultimately, hopefully become companies. We hope, of course, Purlin becomes a really big company that then employs a whole lot of folks, and then they come work with Workforce Connections, and we create an even better workforce.
We do too, Bo, because I know our listeners are thinking, yeah, that sounds too good to be true. I probably touched those sheets and it feels like sandpaper. I'm here to tell you, because you let me touch them, they are like 1,200,
they really are.
Yeah, they are like Egyptian cotton, 1,200 thread, unbelievably soft.
It really is amazing.
Hard to believe that it is. And so, again, the best of both worlds. We are in the news today because of water. I said the water problems. The federal government is, again, I think now saying that we have to reduce our water, all of the users of the Colorado Basin. And so, again, why not turn to technology? And so I'm grateful for the Fire Innovation and all of the stuff that you guys are doing there at Blackfire.
Yep.
So another thing I wanted to talk to you about was that, as you know, Workforce Connections recently partnered with the LVGEA and the local chambers of commerce and the Governor's Office of Economic Development to publish now our third workforce blueprint, which focuses on the target industries to diversify our economy. Again, we all know that hospitality and mining are our core industries. I spent 20 years in hospitality. Yes, you did. But for the past decade now, we've been trying to, again, grow the base of our economy here in our state. And so the Workforce Blueprint really focuses not just on those 7 target industries, but also the occupation and skill sets needed for those industries. Tell us why, and from your opinion, why is it important to make sure that when it comes to workforce development, which is what Workforce Connections does, we start first with the industry side and their needs?
Yeah, and I'll share that I believe that for a lot of the history of the universities haven't been great at this, right? We've been sort of ivory tower, and we, produce an education, and it's kind of siloed. When it really is organizations like Workforce Connections that inspire us, because you've got it right, and you put it exactly right. You start with the industry, right? We do that at Blackfire Innovation. Well, we'll ask the industry, what are your problems, right? And they'll say, water, and then we'll try to create a technological solution. What you guys do and what we increasingly do alongside you is we say, okay, what are your workforce problems? Okay, now let's go after it and try to help educate a populace to perhaps shift. You and I talk a lot about automation and what that means and the ways in which we might be able to create better jobs in the future around those particular industries. But that's our passion, right? That's what we want to do. We're all educators. We're all obviously community folks who are trying to make a better workforce.
And Bo, we all are a team, and we've had here President Whitfield from UNLV. He sat in that chair a couple of weeks ago, and the staff was, again, hugely impressed with him. We've had another superstar from your team, Jamie Schwartz, here.
Jamie Schwartz, yeah.
She, again, was impressive. But today the staff gave me some notes on you. They were just as impressed, as not more. They said, Bo has been published in multiple top journals. His projects have been featured in local and national media outlets. He's directed tens of millions of dollars to university-driven projects. They want to know, what drives Bo Bernhard? Where do you get the energy to get all this done?
So that's a kind way to put it. Like all of us, right? I wake up every day and try to do your job that particular day. But at base, as we said earlier, I'm a kid from Las Vegas. I believe in this town. I've watched it grow up. And I went away to college. I don't know if I've told you this story. I know you're a football fan, original football.
Yeah. The one you actually play with.
The one the one that the whole world plays, including our friends in Peru. And when they announced the starting lineup in my college soccer football team, they announced the hometown. And I had a professor come up to me after a game and say, "Hey, you're from Las Vegas? That's a really interesting economy. What a strange thing to grow up in the shadows of the bright lights. What was that like?" He asked me to write a paper on that. And I loved writing this paper, right? A lot of times you get papers from your professors and it's not the most exciting thing that that you're writing on. But I found my passion, right? I found that I love to talk about this hospitality economy that you and I love to talk about. My family, like you, have decades and decades and decades in the hospitality industry. And these are the people on whose back the entire success of this community and growth of this community resides. It's on those many, many, many people's backs that Las Vegas' success is owed. And so I was fascinated by it. I was lucky to get a good teacher, as many of us were, right, at one point, who was inspired by me and in turn inspired me to pursue something that I never even imagined could be a job, right? Like looking at the economies around these bright lights, which he thought was sort of a neat little, aspect of my life, but it's turned into an entire career.
And Bo, one of the things I think that our listeners would love to hear more about, the sheet story is a tasty morsel of information, right? And I remember an LVGA presentation where you shared, and I know there's stuff you can't share too, but there was a really cool discovery and development that happened in your building that had to do with, energy and how you could produce, energy without the dissipation. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit, if not that one, another cool technology story like that.
That one's really cool. And I don't know that all of us in Las Vegas, and this is partly our fault at UNLV, know that UNLV has become a powerhouse university where people like Ash Salamat was who I was talking about. We recruited him in from the Harvard physics department. He knew that at UNLV, he could pursue the question of the holy grail of physics, which is superconducting. So we live in a semiconducting world. We've all heard of semiconductors. What semiconducting means is that energy is sort of conducting, or like half sort of conducted, right? In other words, it starts here, it ends up here, and less energy is at point B than when it started at point A. Superconducting is the holy grail because it means you send energy from point A to point B with no loss of energy, right? So this had been posited as possible. It had been achieved by a Nobel Prize winning scientist at minus 400 degrees, because if you make it really, really cold, then you don't lose heat, therefore you don't lose energy. Ash Salamat did it for the first time in the history of human beings. We went from a semiconducting people of planet Earth to a superconducting people 2 years ago, not at Los Alamos, not at Oxford University in England, on Maryland Parkway in Las Vegas, Nevada, in a lab that 30,000 super diverse, super impressive UNLV students walk by every day. They probably don't realize that this happened there. But what this means is, if you think about, again, the future of our workforce, think of course, the potential of our solar energy in this state. We've all talked about this for some time. But think about, too, how Texas, remember how Texas's energy grid went off the grid, right? Like all shut down, even though Austin's this super trendy tech place. Their energy grid shut down. Well, the next time that happens, potentially, we could send them all the energy that we harvest from, say, central Nevada and beds upon beds of solar energy, send it through Ash's technology all the way out to Texas, and it'll arrive in Texas with exactly as much energy as we had as we sent it from here. We could power Peru, right? We could power any place on Earth, theoretically, by virtue of having achieved superconductivity. This changes every device that you touch. It potentially changes the economy of energy itself. And once more, this is what you want your universities to do. This is what your UNLV is doing today.
Yep, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Before I ask you about the future, I wanted to make sure here on our YouTube channel, we're going to put a link here on the screen with us. If somebody wants to learn more about what's happening at Blackfire UNLV, what link should they go to?
So absolutely, if you Google Blackfire Innovation, Blackfire is actually the state's gem stone, and that'll get you to a good place. We also have done several talks on this. You mentioned the LVGEA talk. We did a TED talk called Why Las Vegas is Smart, and it actually, you'd like this one, Jaime. It really, I think, values the way in which the social intelligence of the average hospitality worker is perhaps not measured by IQ or GPA or some of the old school sort of ways to measure smarts, but actually social intelligence is way, way more important. And so our extremely socially intelligent workforce, I would argue we probably have the most socially intelligent workforce in the nation, is a super powerful group of human beings. And so Why Las Vegas is Smart is a TED Talk that goes after exactly that.
I love it. Well, our listeners are going to be looking for that then. So the final question here, when it comes to the future, what is your vision for the Blackfire Innovation Center? What do you see happening 5 years from now?
So I'm a big believer in what we've recently called and trademarked at Blackfire, the fun economy. So in 2019, an amazing thing happened on planet Earth. For the first time in human history, the number had been creeping up. 1 in 10 dollars, pesos, Europe, that were spent on the entire planet, what we call gross world product, was spent on tourism, which is an amazing thing, right? That 1 in 10 of any units of money was spent on going from one part of the earth to another part of the earth. Well, guess who's really smart at that? We are, of course. But the other smart thing that we're doing is we're diversifying across what we call a fun economy. The sports economy is about to hit 1% of the world's economy. And the entertainment economy, more generally, going into things like video games and movies and all the ways that there are to have fun, is another 5 to 6%. So 15%-ish of the world's economy is now the fun economy. Now, there are many, many cities that were built on the back of manufacturing, for example. Manufacturing's 11% of the economy, right? And good for them, right? It's good for those cities like St. Louis, where they would manufacture things and then put it on the river and then ship it to another place, right? We need that, right? But Las Vegas doesn't have anything to be embarrassed about when the economy that we're known for already, even as we diversify from that, is, of course, increasingly strong. And it's only going to get bigger. You asked about the future as, for example, South America's middle class grows, right? As China's middle class grows, as India's middle class grows. The growth of the middle class globally is an underreported phenomenon. And as a consumer force, the first thing that you buy after you've bought everything you need is fun. And Las Vegas is pretty good at that. So I think we're going to continue to diversify away from our old core fun industries into all sorts of new core fun industries and all sorts of industries that we haven't even imagined as yet.
I like that because I know you and I are going to be some of the first season ticket holders for a football club if we get one.
That's right. We need a real football. FUTBOL.
That's right. So I think one of the things that I see in the future for us is obviously you kindly hosted the launch of our information and communications technology at the Blackfire Innovation. One of the 7, we've launched 3 and we have 4 to go. And one of the ones that's very interesting as defined in the Workforce Blueprint is called creative industries.
Yeah.
And esports, as you said, is squarely in there. So we'll be calling you.
Very good.
Yep, to talk about the launch of that industry sector partnership where we're going to try to gather the employers, the stakeholders of that industry, and see how we can, again, align our skill acquisition partners, the talent development line, to make sure that we support the growth of that industry because it's going to be huge here, isn't it?
It's brilliant. And it is creative. It is storytelling, right? It might seem weird to those of us who've been around the block a few times, but video game creation is an incredibly creative process of storytelling in the same way that movie making is storytelling. And so the creatives, the fine arts, right? I think there are some who might mistakenly believe that there's no place for the artists in an increasingly technological world, when actually the opposite's true, right? We need more creative content as technologies allow us to tell different kinds of stories using different formats, different tech, and again, things we haven't even imagined as yet.
Well, Bo, I love talking to you. I think we're going to have to have part 2.
We can always do that. I'll come back here anytime.
Awesome, Bo. We want to thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Jaime.
So that's it for another episode of this podcast. We hope to see you at the next one. And until then, stay safe. All right, Bo. Well, thank you for staying for our bonus segment we call Against the Wall. Are you ready to play?
I hope so.
All right. The first segment is called Your Favorites. So I'm going to give you some categories, and you're going to tell me your favorite one. So your favorite subject in college.
Oh, sociology.
Your favorite book.
Humankind, which is a new book that looks at the ways in which the world is surprisingly deeply decent and good.
Ooh, I love that. Your favorite movie.
I love Riding Giants. It's a documentary on people who go after 60-foot waves and ride them fearlessly, and it's just one of those docs that just inspires you and makes you think people on this planet are crazy.
Wow, very interesting. Your favorite city to visit?
Oh, it's a tie. Most years I get lucky enough to visit upwards of 6 continents a year. My 2 favorite cities on the planet are Cape Town, South Africa, which is probably number 1 by a hair over Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
Both beach cities, crazy cool, social, sports, positive energy places.
Very cool. Your favorite food?
Paella.
Ooh, I love that.
Mis años en España, porque he vivido en España.
So the place on Flamingo called Pamplona.
Pamplona, yeah. Pamplona's good. Valencian Gold, that's where I lived, was Valencia.
Okay.
So if you're local, Valencian Gold is like authentic and also creative paella. It's really good.
Then that's where we're going next.
That's where we're going now.
Your favorite artist or musical group?
Tribe Called Quest. I'm a hip hop guy.
Very good. Your favorite holiday?
Yeah, Halloween. Halloween's fun.
Okay. This one, you got to be careful. Your favorite sports team.
It is, as of this moment, Arsenal Football Club. I wake up at 4 a.m. to watch them over in England on Saturdays.
How are they doing?
They're doing really well. They're 2-0. They got a young, hot squad, and they're tied for first place in the Premier League.
That's cool. All right. You made it through flying colors through the segment, Your Favorites. The next one's called Tough Choices.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready? I'm going to give you 2 choices for you to pick one. Would you rather vacation in the U.S. or abroad?
Abroad.
Would you rather play sports or watch sports?
Play sports.
Are you a basketball or a football guy?
I'm a football guy, so a soccer guy.
Soccer guy. Would you rather sleep in on a Sunday or wake up early to have a hearty breakfast?
I'm an early morning guy. I didn't used to be, but I've become an old man in my old age. I like a up with the roosters guy now.
All right. Would you rather owe money or owe a favor?
I would rather probably owe money because I want to be on a good even keel with everybody.
Do you prefer justice or grace?
Oh, that is a great question. I am a big believer in grace. I wish justice happened more often, but I think if grace was omnipresent and ubiquitous, then the world would be just a beautiful place.
Here's another tough one. Actions or words?
Actions, yeah. Although I'm a wordy type. I talk a lot. I'm a professor.
All right. That was it for the second segment. We're rounding the corner to the end. The third segment is called Finish the Sentence. Ooh. So I'm going to give you 90% of a sentence you're going to finish for us. Were you ready?
Okay. Yep.
If Bo could live anywhere, it would be?
Valencia, Spain.
Love it. Bo's favorite thing about his job is?
The students, without a doubt, and it is a long way to second place. The most beautiful thing about the University of Nevada, Las Vegas is our glorious student body.
That's awesome. If Bo could travel back in time, he would travel to?
Maybe the 86 World Cup to see Maradona at his peak.
See that goal, huh?
See that goal.
Yeah, Azteca Stadium. Wow. The best part of living in Southern Nevada is?
Oh, gosh. I think that this is a massively socially intelligent place. I always say if you work in Wall Street, you can't hate numbers. If you work in Silicon Valley, you can't hate tech. If you work in Las Vegas, you can't hate people. And as a result, I believe, and I'm biased because I'm from here, but we select for nice. I think that nice people do well here.
That's awesome. 3 words that describe Bo are?
Energetic, university bound, that's a hyphenated one, and a dad.
Very good. And here comes the last one. Doing the WC podcast today here with us was?
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Bo, for staying over for our bonus segment.